All right, check it out. I got this cool new flashlight that I got on Amazon. Kind of cool. It is not cheap, but it is kind of neat that it plugs into a 12-volt outlet. I'll go ahead and throw the link down in there at the bottom if it's still for sale. So what I'm going to do is, since we're about to go on a trip, I am going to go ahead and plug it into the 12-volt outlet so we can charge tonight. And I'm sure it'll be fine as long as nobody throws anything in there and hits it.
8 hours later.
Okay, 1 minute. Let's put this in the car. What was that? Crap. The heck? Oh, that sucks. The outlet broke and it's in the wall of the car. That's going to be such a pain to fix. Hi, this is Rich and welcome to Wings, Wheels, and Wires. So if you have a broken retainer ring on the 12-volt outlet on the back of your i3, this is the video for you because today I'm going to show you how to fix it. I originally mentioned this issue on my BMW i3 5-year review, which you can check out right here. And a few viewers expressed some interest in seeing how this could be fixed. I even promised one of them that I was going to show them on a video how to fix this. And while this process had taken very much more time than I intended, here's me fulfilling that promise. Why did this video take so long to make? Well, when you see the piece, or more to the point, pieces, I think you'll understand. You see, you'd already be familiar with this outside ring, which is one you see laying outside of the thing after the piece breaks. But there's also an inside ring. This goes behind a flange on the 12-volt outlet, and then it presses up against the wall. And then from there, this goes from the outside of the wall, and they lock together. Pretty simple, right? Should be a piece of cake to fix. But the problem is, in order to lock these together, you have to apply pressure to the back of this rear ring. And how do you do that if it's inside the wall? This is the tricky part. And this is the part that took me a while to figure out how to access the back of this wall without destroying the car. So after months of making no progress, I finally decided to talk to a BMW repair facility. And as luck would have it, there is one very close to my house. It just opened up. So I decided to go and talk to them. At this point, I want to give a shout out to Santos and the repair team over at BMW of Chula Vista. It's a brand new location, kind of a well-kept secret. I didn't even know they existed until 2 weeks before I went to go talk to them. And they were super helpful. So if you live in South San Diego, definitely check them out. They didn't sponsor me or anything. I'm just really happy they helped me out. They printed out some directions for me and even gave me some pointers on the best way to go about this. So from here, you can see there isn't actually an easy way to get behind here to put pressure on the back of this. I had been looking at removing this piece and being able to go from the top. There's actually, if you feel underneath, and I'll try to give you a video in a second, there's actually a couple things that almost feel like clips that you can trigger to be able to release it. Let me see if I can give you a video of that. All right, but after talking to the folks at BMW and going over the directions that they gave me, yes, they're messy. They've been in the back of my car for a while. The thing they worked out is actually a much simpler solution, and that is to remove this piece across here. And what we're going to do is basically this will be free on the bottom, and we're going to pull out from the gasket here and basically pull the panel out from that. We can slide our hand behind here, and then we'll be able to put pressure on the back of this outlet. At this point, it's really important to explain that this is sort of a two-tier job. You have the easy tier and the hard tier. The easy tier would be that if this is the front piece is the piece that broke, which I'm expecting is much more likely because these teeth are pretty small and fragile, then all you have to do is be able to apply the pressure and push this on. Piece of cake. However, if this back retaining ring is broken, this is a whole nother level because you see, you can't remove it because of the flange it has to press against. So what you're going to have to do then is disconnect the 12-volt outlet power supply, the wires that supply it. Now, unless it's some kind of quick release connector, which I'm sure it isn't, then you have to worry about cutting the wires and everything to be able to replace this. And then, of course, if you're also going to be messing with wiring in your car, then you also have to remove the frunk and disconnect your 12-volt battery in order to not cause any problems when you do this. So you can see that this is going to be a much higher work level than just replacing the front. Now, the good news is this piece is a bit more robust, and I honestly expect that my ring is just fine, but we're not going to know until we open it up. So let's get started with that. All right, so before we get started, let's talk about the piece. Here it is with the part number and the barcode if you want to get a shot of that. This is the part I got directly from BMW. It was something like 13 bucks or something. I'll put the exact price on the screen. And so obviously if you went to have this replaced, it is obviously not the part that is going to cost you money, but the labor. So we'll set that aside and we're going to do the very first step here, which is removing the rear cover, which is the easiest part as well, because all we have to do is stick our finger in there, pull it out, and there we go. And now that that piece is out of the way, you can already see how going from the bottom is a much easier process, because if you look at here, there is literally nothing holding this in across the back. It is simply this piece is holding down right here. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. So the very next step is to remove the covers that hold down these rings. Now, I'm going to be using a plastic pry tool. This is the tool of choice. You could use a flat tip screwdriver or even a putty knife, which is what I would have used if I didn't find this. However, this is really a better tool because if you use anything made of metal, you have a much better chance of tearing up the plastic on this. If you don't have one, need to buy one, check on Amazon, go to probably even Walmart has them, pretty much anywhere you can get these, and auto parts store. I'll throw a link in the description below just to make it easier for you to acquire one. Also, if you use that link, it helps out the channel because I end up getting some money out of that. So that would be great too. All right, so I'm going to do my best to not look like a complete idiot while trying to remove this with only one hand and holding the camera in the other hand. Chances are I will fail. But what you want to do is get underneath the edge. What I kind of found is helpful is to get around the two sides, and then you're able to lift it right out. Now, as you can see, the next thing of this is going to be a Torx bit. I have one that kind of fits, but not exactly, so that ought to be a whole lot of fun. Let's go do the other one now. All right, again, get under the edge. There we go. See how I'm not scratching it up, not tearing it up, not doing any damage to it. And I only look semi-dumb trying to film this and do this at the same time. All right, so the next part will be to remove the Torx screws. Right, and in order to be able to remove this, we need a T40 Torx bit. The only size I had before was a 45, so I had to run over to Home Depot to change that out. I actually tried to use it because it looked like it might want to fit, and I might have tore up the top of the bit just a little bit, but that's not bad. All right, but the 40 fits perfectly. Do like that to get it loose. Come back to that one, and then we can do the same thing on this side. All right, I could probably save time by throwing a drill bit on this, but I don't think these are that deep. There we go. I think it should be finger tight now. All right. By the way, to remove the entire cover, I had mentioned it was just this one holding it down. This is the only one we have to worry about to be able to access the back. But you would actually need to do the same thing on this end because this piece as well holds down this end. So if you're going to completely remove it, you would need to take that one out too. But to just do what we're going to do and get our hand behind this, this will be enough. Boom. So these are out of the way. Let's see how it goes from here. Trying to lift it up, and I discovered that there is a problem. It will not lift up here in the middle. The two edges lift up, no problem, but the middle part doesn't. I popped off this cover to take a look to see if there's anything holding it down here, and there isn't. What I kind of figured out is if you see on the sheet right here, there's a little bump, and if you look really close in there, there's actually a piece of plastic that protrudes. So I think this is holding this down from this side. So we have a couple of options. One would be to remove this entire shelf, which I don't think I'm going to do. The other thing that I'm going to give a try is to try to pop this out from this side, and because basically this could hinge out when you do that. So I can try to disconnect or take the gasket out from underneath this, pop it up, and it should just pop out. I'm going to give that a try and see how it works. All right, so we're going to start from the end and start lifting up, and then squeeze the gasket back and use our pry tool to move it along. Make sure that as you pass this point that it doesn't go back down underneath the gasket. Slide this along a little bit. Idealistically, if you had two pry tools, it would probably be a lot better. But with one, we're getting the job done. Okay. I can definitely feel it getting looser. Down there, of course, on the top, it's getting more difficult to move because I have that pressure. But I can definitely see the progress I am making. This is probably going to be an absolute pain in the butt to put back together. All right, let's see. Yeah, see, now that I've gotten it past this point, I can feel it being able to pull out. So we are definitely on the right track. So one thing that I think I'm going to do right now, it's up to you what you try when you do this, but I discovered that when I started at the end, it was a lot easier to take out than it was when I get to the middle. So what I'm going to do is start again on this end and then meet at the middle. Sorry, I got the end popped off. It seems as I got closer to the middle, it got harder and harder to move this, which was kind of weird. But there we go. You heard that pop? That was this thing kind of passing that center line. And the rest of this is so much easier. Oh, yeah. What you actually want to do is, instead of trying to force it like I started on from the get-go, is press it up against the gasket, roll it over so that it rolls the gasket underneath it. And bam, you hear all that? All right, that should make this easy, except it's not. All right, well, one thing we have absolutely worked out is that this is not the only thing holding this down, because I have it all the way out. Oop, never mind. Got it. Here's the trick. I was right. There wasn't the only thing holding it down. You have 4 spring clips underneath. So they were still holding it down even though we had got it off of the gasket. So after you've cleared the gasket, you have to take the risk. I know it feels really weird to pull up on this and it seems like it's going to break, but you got to give it that jerk and it will pull out. And sure enough, we also had the 2 feet that were underneath the metal plate. So we got those clear. You just rotate it, pop off these spring clips, and then you're free and clear. Now, with that piece out of the way, all that's left now is to go ahead and pull the same thing, pulling this carpeted piece out from behind the gasket. Hopefully this won't be too hard. There is a weird lip down here that's just going to make this kind of challenging, but let's skip a lip. Ooh, okay, you did not see that. Let's skip that lip and just pull. All right, and I got a good start. We're going to do the same thing we learned to do over there. Rock her under. Oop. Not as durable a piece as the plastic, so it feels kind of flimsy and wants to wobble back and forth, which I'm not so fond of. But we are just about there. Okay, with that, there was one piece they missed when they gave me the instructions, and that is this little sucker right here. It's a spring clip, or not spring clip, but a plastic clip. So we're going to get underneath it like this, and I am in a really awkward position, so this is going to look terrible. I'm actually going to just do this and then show you, because I need both hands. That's where this V end of this comes in super handy, because what you do is actually, the ways these work is they're a 2-part motion. You have this is kind of neat to check out. You have this part that lifts up off of this part, and when it goes down, when you push it in, it widens this, kind of like if you've ever seen one of those anchors for the walls. When it's pushed down, it widens this underneath the flange and holds it in place. So what you do is you use the V to lift it out, and then it takes pressure off of this and it slides right out like we just did. All right, now with that, I can absolutely get my hand back here. And with that, I have already found my 12 volt. I'm going to try to get you in here to see. It is not the easiest thing in the world, but we'll give it a try. Okay, so let's get in there and add a little bit of light because it's dark in there. We'll use my flashlight that caused all this problem in the first place. All right, and with that, you can see the piece, and you can see as you move it around, it looks like nothing is actually damaged on it. There is some white marks if you look at it from the top, but I think those are just impact points from the prongs pulling out of it. So let's go ahead and compare that to our good piece and see how it looks. All right, right here is our known good piece. It actually looks to be in exactly the same shape. Like I said, there are a couple little white marks on here, which is where I think the prongs broke out. So we're going to try to give it a try to see if we can just use the pressure and clip it together. If you look at the back piece that we are not replacing, it has this little prong right here, and that lines up with this indent right here. So we're going to have to rotate these piece inside until that aligns. All right, so we got to reach our hand in here and then we rotate it, and okay, it's locked into place. Also, it looks like actually if we had to replace the back piece, this is actually a lot easier than it looked. Let's take a moment to take a look at this. It's actually a compression clip right here. So you press both sides, wiggle that out. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and change the back, even though we don't need to, because this is going to be super easy. Ready? Back piece seemed to be good, but shoot, if it's this easy to replace, the heck with it. All right, we're going to take the new one, slide it up. Now, sliding this on is going to be slightly less easy than it seemed at first. So we got the ring on the clip. We take the clip, push back together. It's got one straight one and one sideways one, so it is impossible to screw this up, even for me. All right, those two are together. Slide this back through the hole. And again, we're going to rotate this piece. Why are you? Okay, I think this has to clip on here somehow. There we go. Did we get all the sides? I think we got all the sides. So apparently, this, let me make sure not to stick my finger in there and get electrocuted. Apparently, the lighter piece does indeed clip into the piece that we're latching in. So I thought that the front piece was kind of a locked everything together, but it actually doesn't. The rear actually locks the 12-volt outlet into place. And I'm going to need a little bit more light because I'm not seeing the button that we are trying to line up. Oh, so much easier with some light. There you are. All right. So we see that piece. We push that right there. All those are aligned. Let's take our front, press them together. Does not really feel like it's in there well, but it does seem to be in place. All right. There we go. She's fixed. Now we have to put everything back together. But luckily, that should be a lot easier, I hope. All right, so put this back in. Just going to pull the gasket out and wrap it around our carpeted piece. By the way, it's actually getting kind of chilly because we're getting into the evening, and my fingers aren't enjoying doing this detailed work when it's chilly. So this might be a better job on a nice warm day. All right. There we go. That piece is back together, no problem. Then we get our compression clip, which I need to find. There we go. Probably turn off my flashlight while I'm at it. Even though, hey, we can put it back in and charge it. All right. Now, actually, before I put all this back together, you know what we need to do is make sure it works. So let's pull this out and go get something to plug in. I grabbed the charger out of the car. This has a blue LED that lights up when we're plugged in and when it works. So let's see. Bam, blue light, we're good. All right, just want to make sure because it would really suck to put all this together and then find out it didn't work. Our compression clip right here, we're going to press it into the hole, make sure the base is all the way down nice and tight, and then you just press the top. Now she's locked back in place. So easy. All right, the very next thing will be to replace this piece right here. All right, so to be able to do this, we are going to start by making sure we line up those two tracks that we had in here. And we're simply going to rotate it. And ideally, watch out for the hold down for the trunk and press. And in a perfect world, which I'm not living in. Actually, no, I think I'm already getting some grip. Just boom, boom. All right, she is locked back down. Now we just simply have to repeat the process of putting a gasket over this. So we're going to do that right here. Okay, getting around it, I forgot. We got to do the trip and roll method here. All right, and that was really easy once I got started. So this should be just a cakewalk from this point onward. Again, if you don't mind it, I don't mind getting your hands sort of oily. I would suggest some Armor All to get this gasket nice and soft and slippery so that it's easier to get around. As you can tell, I am not an auto bodywork person. This is actually a very new thing for me, though that means that if I can do this, anyone can. There is no excuse to not be able to do this. All right, by the way, you heard that pop. It sounds like once you get the gasket in place, there's just a little bit more. You need to push it down, but after you do that, it's seriously in place. All right, I'm gonna try rolling this over so we can just simply pry and creep it along. Maybe, oh, okay, you heard that pop? That's us getting into the right place. As every time you hear one of those pops, we are just a little bit closer to this being done. I'm going to not try to pry on there too much. That's where they have it, the seam in the gasket, and I do not want to take that apart. So, all right, just like we did to remove it, I think I'm going to jump on the other side and again meet in the middle, because again, most of the resistance is getting this down into position. So the more we can, heard that pop? The more we hear those without it being the plastic actually breaking, then the more we are actually winning. So one more pop here, and we can actually start to grab the gasket, pop it into place. Last little bit. All right, so that's now all in place. I have to say that very likely it was harder putting this back than it was taking it out. But let's take a closer look at it. All right, so now we have our reassembled piece. We have our gasket. Oh, actually, let's start way up here. We have our gasket properly in place all the way around, not torn, not damaged. All right, you can also see how this one, when you heard that pop earlier, that was this one getting in place. Let's go ahead and clean that while we're here, because you can never get behind and underneath this otherwise. All right. See how this one still got a bit of a gap to it? There we go. You hear that pop? That is it locking into place. So now we can, there we go. There. Bam. Everything is 100% back in place. All right. With that done, all we have to do is put these in place. Go ahead and get, again, our T40 Torx driver. And nice and tight. I'm going to come over to this side and do the exact same thing. All right, I'm going to come over here and tighten this one down just a tad bit more. All right, then take our clips, press them back on, make sure it's aligned properly, and then press it on in place. Same thing for the other side. Just simply press it on. All right, now all we have to do is put the cover back in, and we are done. All right, you notice on the cover you have two little prongs in the back. They actually slide into these two little holes right here. So you just slide them into it, and you are done. All right, so now we're finally done with this, which, as you can tell, is just in time because we are running out of daylight. So hopefully you found this helpful and useful, and if you did, please hit that like button, subscribe, and consider joining the channel to get more exciting content and notified when things are coming out, and for some extra benefits. There's also a super thanks button if you found this helpful. It's certainly a lot cheaper than taking this to BMW, I assure you. And don't forget to stick around for my subscriber shout out. And here's a video YouTube really thinks you're going to like.
And now it's time for the subscriber shout-outs. If you'd like your own shout-out, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and either make sure your name is visible or put in the comments down below that you subscribed.
Sirgan 29, Hugo Reyes, Frank's How To. Thanks for subscribing.